Before we begin, I have to put a warning on this video. Some scenes included may upset tournament players. That's right, it's the Amazon tournament rosters. Hi everybody, I'm Ben from the Bonehead podcast and welcome to Amazon tournament rosters. We have looked at tournament rosters and starting rosters for almost all of the teams in the Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook, and we're getting geared up now for competitive play season. Amazon's landed in the Teams of Legend PDF that you can get from the Games Workshop Warhammer community page, and Amazon's didn't change a huge amount. The throwers and catchers both went up 5k, and passing got worse across the board with the exception of their thrower, which stayed at a 3+ quick pass, which is exactly the same as it was before. That's basically everything that changed for the Zons. The FAQ landed recently, however, and this will affect Amazons, and I don't think we've talked about this before. You can now use multiple rerolls in a single turn. You can only reroll one dice once, okay, so that's absolutely fine, and remember this team has got a ton of dodge, so if you are making a dodge you are not going to get boosted. What it does mean is that this team that has cheap players and cheap rerolls, okay, rerolls are 50k, line women are 50k, it means that this team is going to have a reserve of rerolls, which means there are going to be those turns where stretch plays happen, where a absolute onslaught of blocks happen, because this team starts at tier 1 and it means business. Anyway, that's enough preamble. Let's have a look at Amazon tournament rosters. As ever, we're going to start with the vanilla roster for tournaments. We're going to look at 1100 and 1200 for these rosters. The reason for that is we think 1.1 million upwards will be the kind of tournament meta. So if we go for some 1.1 million and some 1.2 million builds, you should be covered to A, know what to expect if you're playing against these teams, and B, have some good archetypes of which you kind of might want to take. Then you can kind of tweak up or down 50k depending on the tournament that you're going to, so we'll kind of give a little bit of a spread starting at the lowest end, and this is the thing that I think is just brutal. The core roster for Amazon's at 1100 comes in at 1085. Now let me finish before you start typing about the fact the thrower is on the roster. 4 blitzers, 1 thrower, 7 line women. This brings you to 12 players. And it leaves you with, and this is just absolutely crazy, enough cash for 5 rerolls and an apothecary. So the apothecary is going to be absolutely key in keeping those blitzers alive, okay? The blitzers are just the top player in this game. So every skill you get from Amazons can either turn a line woman into a blodger, or turn your blodger, as if of which you start with 4 with the Amazon blitzers, into blodge guard. Okay, there are some other skills you can take. You could chuck a tackle on a blitzer, you could chuck mighty blow on a blitzer, you could take break tackle to get 1 dodge off per turn at 2+, but realistically 4 blodgers with guard. The rest of the skills go on line women to get you more blodgers. This team becomes an absolute rampant combat house, and it has 5 rerolls. So before we talk about the thrower, we already prefaced this by saying that rerolls are now, the cap is kind of gone. Before you didn't really want more than 4 rerolls because you weren't likely to use them. Now actually you can use multiple in a turn, so that second turnover isn't always going to happen. And with this roster that you get the full lineup and a full strong lineup with an extra reroll and an extra apothecary from what you would start with in League, this roster is not going away. You've got 12 players, but one of them's coming back because you got the apothecary. You've got 5 rerolls, which means you are not going to run out realistically. So the thrower is in here, and why is the thrower in here? So the thrower doesn't come with sure hands, but it does come with pass. The reason the thrower is there is because if you replace the thrower with a line woman, this roster goes down to 1060. You can't get anything for 40k. If you don't want to run the thrower, take a line woman instead, and then spend 40k on assistant coaches to swing that roll of a 7 on the kickoff table to get that extra reroll. I look at the thrower here as a 25k reroll. Okay, so if you put leader on that thrower, which is a normal, and you're going to get skills, you get that boosted up to 6 rerolls. 6 rerolls and apothecary, 12 players, and a ton of them are blodging, and you've got some guard in there as well. This tournament roster is just going to sing. There is going to be nothing that these guys can't do, and it is just going to be full-blown Amazon. So there's a load of players who hate Amazons, and this is not going to make you feel better. That's why we had the warning at the beginning of the video. So this roster is where it starts. This is basically the lowest side of tournaments, and it just gets scarier. From as low as 1100, I was going to say 1200, but we're not even there yet. Okay, so what do Amazons lack? They don't lack dodge, they don't lack block, they don't lack rerolls, and they don't lack the cash to have spare people / apothecaries. What they do lack is a bit of strength. 1100, guys, you can sneak Zog into a very reasonable Amazon roster. 4 blitzers, 7 line women, 3 rerolls. Your skills go on the blitzers to get them guard. Spare skills go on the line women to become blodgers / maybe you want to take kick or a wrestle person just to chuck them in there. On top of that, you get mighty zoggles. So block, mighty blow, loner 4+, I think, maybe even loner 3+. I don't know if he's that good. But basically, you get a big guy, loner 4+, mighty blow +1. You get a big guy. You get an ogre. You get 4 blodge blitzers, an ogre, and 7 line women who, quite frankly, at movement 6, agility 3+, strength 3 are decent enough, and they come with dodge, which means they are less likely to get pounded into the ground. Amazons, try very hard not to use dodge to actually dodge. Just use it as basically a -1 to hit. So you can line up, you can use those people to be your assists and your blitzers, and now Zug are going to benefit and just pound your opponent into oblivion. You've got 3 rerolls. Amazons perform just fine with 3 rerolls. You're not going to be able to double down as often as you would with the 4, 5 or 6 reroll Amazon roster, but this is going to give you everything you need. But if you don't want strength 5, you want strength 4 instead, you can take Karla von Kill. So the great thing about Karla, let's just have a quick look at her stats real quick. Movement 6, strength 4, agility 3+, passing 4+, armor 9+, block, dauntless, dodge, jump up, loner. So another blodger at strength 4. Same movement, same agility, but you do have that jump up element, which is going to keep her mobile, but also dauntless. So if your opponent has got another big guy, she can go absolutely grim iron jaw on that person, and you've got a good chance. You've got a ton of guard as well. So she is often going to be able to take those 2 die up blocks. Now, the difference between her and Zug is 10k, which means that at 1095 you can take 4 blitzers, 1 thrower, 6 line women, so you get your core team there. That allows you to take that thrower and become that leader position, or to give you 4 rerolls. So you're strength 4 instead of strength 5, but you get 4 rerolls instead of 3. And Karla is faster. Karla, as a strength 4 blodger, supported by 4 strength 3 blodgers, probably with guard, backed up by 7 very, very reasonable dodge linemen and 4 rerolls, this team is going to be able to play its way out of almost any situation, and that is 1100. This is a cheap tournament roster. I cannot stress that enough. Most teams only start getting brewing at about 1100. I mean, just go look at our necromantic rosters. 1100, you're just like, yeah, I think I've got all my positionals. Amazons have got all their positionals, and Karla von Kill. And then when you take it up to 1200, it's just filthy. So my advice, taking that roster from 1100 to 1200, you get an extra line woman and an apothecary in there. So 4 blitzers, 1 thrower, 6 line women, actually not an extra line woman, an extra reroll, and the apothecary. So it just goes up straight 100k, 1195. You've now got 11 players plus Karla von Kill, 4 rerolls plus the leader reroll for number 5, and an apothecary to keep all of your positionals alive. It's just unfair. Let's go a different angle with this now. Let's have a look at the Grak 1200 build. So this comes in at 1185, so 1,185,000. You get Grak and Zombleberry, 4 blitzers, 1 thrower, 6 linemen, 3 rerolls, and an apothecary. So that thrower again is there because you don't have enough cash to buy a reroll outright or another line woman. So it becomes your 25k reroll. So that's pretty tasty. So this roster has got a really strong 11-person Amazon roster with 3 rerolls plus leader and an apothecary to keep them all alive. On top of that, at 1200, you get an ogre and a halfling. So the halfling there, it gives the Amazons a throw teammate opportunity, as well as actually sure hands. Like this roster, one of the things it doesn't have is sure hands, and if you want to be taking leader on your thrower to make the most of that multiple reroll per turn rule now, you don't really want to burn that skill on sure hands for the thrower when actually a leader reroll is going to become handy for anybody to pick up. That basically just makes the thrower a leader caddy, and then all of your linewomen, all of your blitzers, whatever, they just do stuff. Ogre and a free player to foul with, to get kicked, to be sure hands. It's just awesome. So the Ogre fills a massive gap in the Amazon roster. Strength 5 Mighty Blow, on top of 4 Blodge Guard probably players. This creates this team that is kind of resilient because of dodge and strong because of block and guard. It's going to be striking and making 2-die blocks. You've also just got Grak, who can just wander around and pretty much 2-die block anybody, and you get Mighty Blow. And the cool thing about this roster is because you've got Zombleberry to kind of be an extra player, you've got 13, which means if Grak does knock somebody down, the halfling or a random linewoman can go for a cheeky foul as well. So you've got a high-performing tier 1 team and an ogre and a spare player that can either be your ball caddy, or just to pick up the ball, or just a fouler. And also it gives you a 1-turn touchdown event. That just ramps up Amazons to being a solid team that you really look at and think, I really hope someone's brought dwarves. To a team where it doesn't even matter if they've got dwarves, because dwarves cannot fly and halflings, when kicked by Grak, can. And last but not least, we've talked about one ogre. Let's talk about the ogre. You can fit Morg and Thorg into an Amazon roster at 1200. So what you end up with for, again, 1185, let me just check my numbers. Nope, 1200 exactly. Ignore that bit. You get 4 blitzers. Okay, we've talked about these. Some of the best players in the game, especially when they become Blodge Guard. Backed up by linewomen who are very reasonable. You've got 3 rerolls, so you're not even giving anything up. All your skills can go on making Blodgers and making Guarders. And then you get the big daddy himself. So Morg and Thorg, movement 6, strength 6, agility 3+. He's actually as good at carrying the ball as the rest of your team. Passing 4+. He actually throws better than the most of your team. Armor 11+. Block. Mighty Blow +2. Thick Skull. Throw teammate's not going to come in handy here. But Mighty Blow +2 with Strength 6 and Agility 3+. He's got Low and 4+, so bear that in mind. But this guy is just an absolute tank. If you're looking at a 1200 roster with Amazons, you can take many different roads, but you actually get the strongest, most powerful player in the game here with Morg. You can take Grak and have an ogre and a halfling option bolted on to a brilliant Amazon team. You can get Karla to fit in with a lineup that is just going to mean you get an absolute mobile Death Star, or more like a squadron of Blodgers. Or you can take Zug and just chuck basically a Mighty Blow block ogre on the line. Amazons got really good. Really, really, really good. I think they're actually better in this format than last one. That said, you don't have Roxanna anymore. So Amazons, because they're cheap, used to be a really good Roxanna caddy, basically. It was just like this dodge list with Roxy. Cannot take Roxy anymore. So Karla is the most agile you get. So the one thing missing from this roster is any kind of Ag 2+ do stuff player. So you're going to have to work around that, but you get to work around that with 1200 or 1100k of just pure win. That's going to wrap up this video, guys. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of these lists, what you think of Amazons in this format. I think we all need to start buying dwarf teams, or just going tackle heavy, because I think this is going to be really hard to beat, because a well-played Amazon team with Blodge Guard can dominate most other teams, and it's really, really interesting. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now. I'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. More soon. Blood Bowl. Bye.